to break the chains and set us free. Riders on the prairie, the wild and free, bows and arrows, Colt 45's decree. No more tyranny, no more lies, under open skies we rise. Fight, 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 till we reclaim the night. Cowboys and Indians in the blazing light. Fight, 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 till the dawn is near. We'll never live in fear. On the blood moon, we all unite. Horse loose thunder in the night. No longer slaves to the empire's might. Strength in numbers, strength in rise. We'll never rise. On the blood moon, we unite. Horse loose thunder in the night.
Welcome, you guys, to the 50th episode on this beautiful Memorial Day, where we honor the sacrifices made by our veterans from, I guess, all of time, that kind of given us our freedoms and our, well, I mean, everything that we enjoy today has been given to us by giants, and we stand on the shoulders of giants, and today is the day where we honor them. And joining us today, of course, is my co-host Steve and the greatest independent rapper of all time, Tom MacDonald, a patriot through and through who has changed the entire music industry from the bottom up and is now, like I said, the greatest independent artist of all time. I would like to say that you're just a rapper, but you're not. I mean, you are a musician. You are an artist, Tom, and you've completely changed the game on how this goes. So I'm honored to have you join us. Thank you for joining us this Memorial Day.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me back. And once again, dude, greatest intro to me that I've ever been given. I really appreciate the kind words, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I know that you are, I'm sorry, Steve. I know that you are doing a fundraiser as well, and you extended it through today. So please, just really quick, let's get this out of the way and let people know where they can go to help support the fundraiser and what you got going on.
Sure. So every year we do a fundraiser with a charity called US Vets. And in the past 3 years, we've raised just over $350,000 for veterans and their families. All of those donations go to programs that help veterans with employment, finding housing, finding mental health help, and programs for their families as well, families who have lost a father or a son or a mother or daughter. So our goal this year is 150,000. Last year we raised 137,000. The year before that, 136, and the first year we did it, I think it was about 75. So we're shooting for 150,000 this year to bring our total up to $500,000, which is just, I think that would be an incredible goal. So we got 4 different charity shirts. They're all available on hangovergang.com. 4 different shirts. Every single penny goes to veterans and their families. You know, I think a lot of charities will say things like all profits from this T-shirt will go, and then that's a way for them to offset the production cost of the actual product. But we don't do that. Like, I front the cost of the shirt. I'll pay for the shirt. I'll pay to have it printed. So literally every penny from those shirts, nothing goes to offset our production cost. Every penny from those shirts goes to veterans, and I front the cost of the shirt and the print. And I did a lot of research on a lot of different charities. There's thousands of great charities out there and thousands of not so great charities out there. So one of the reasons we chose to go with US Vets is a lot of the times if you donate $1 to a charity, like 60 or 70 or 80 cents of that dollar will go to the operating costs of the actual charity. But with US Vets, it's like 99 cents or 100% of every dollar. It's very, very, very high. So that's why we ended up choosing them. We wanted as much money raised as possible to go to veterans and their families. So we've worked with US Vets for 4 years. You can grab a charity shirt at hangovergang.com, and you can rest assured that every single dollar will go to the charity and will go to fund those programs for veterans and their families.
That's really awesome, Tom. Thank you for that, man. As a veteran myself, I see like you how much you contribute to veterans and the struggles that they go with. It's really amazing. You know, so I've lost two people in the service, and one was he was killed in action by a suicide bomber in Afghanistan, and then I lost another friend post deployment, and he succumbed to his post traumatic stress. So we do honor, you know. Today is kind of like a multifaceted kind of remembrance, in my opinion. One, you know, people that actually were killed in action in combat, but then also we have veterans that are taking their lives post deployment. You know, that we really need to focus on. You know, that I think it's like 22 a day or whatever it's called. You know, it's a struggle for a lot of veterans, and I made actually I'm always like, so I've been there, you know, I'm at a place in my life now where I've been in that struggle, and I feel like it's like my turn to pay it forward. So I make posts all the time, you know, especially around these holidays like Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day, all that stuff. Some people may be struggling, and I don't want them to become a statistic, because I've lost enough battle buddies and I don't want to do that anymore. So thank you for everything that you're doing right now, Tom.
Oh, dude, thank you for everything that you've done, man. It's you know, that's like a big part of it. That's one of the reasons why I really like U.S. Vets, because obviously Memorial Day is for people that were lost in the line of duty and for fallen men and women that were serving the country. But and I know that it's important to focus on those lives that we lost, but every time a life is lost, whether it's, you know, in the military or somebody gets a car accident or due to sickness or something, there's friends and family and brothers and sisters and moms and dads and just tons of people that are affected. So, you know, like, that's why the proceeds not only go to the families of the fallen, but veterans that are still here, like yourself, that have lost friends, and
Right.
you seem like you're very well put together, but who knows like how it is when the camera's off or when you're having a bad day or whatever, right? So I know there's lots of guys like you out there
Right.
that are sitting around, and sometimes that pain and those problems get the best of them, and they can't go to work and they lose their house, and they're fucked. So,
Yeah.
so, you know, so that's a big part of U.S. Vets is trying to solve the homelessness problem for veterans, trying to solve the employment problem. Um,
Mm.
because, like I said, it's good to focus on at least for a moment the people that were lost and why we're able to enjoy this wonderful country. But there's a lot of other people that are still here that are affected by those losses as well.
Definitely.
So.
Yeah,
One of
absolutely agreed, brother. Go ahead.
the conversations that I had with well, I guess it wasn't really a conversation. It was a back and forth on X, but for some reason my feed has been getting infested more with kind of lefty rhetoric, and they were kind of dogging on assimilation. And this was a guy who was born in the United States, is a black American, but is basically saying that assimilation is a bad thing, and that they should, that the left should reject assimilation into what American culture is. And that's always really bugged me in a particular way, because like I said at the beginning of the show, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and showing humility and gratitude for all that we have. I mean, our society today is severely lacking a lot of this, and especially once people start to get money and influence, what you'll see a lot of the times is them kind of morph into the political narrative that they're told to say. So you see a lot of actors and politicians and I guess artists in general, they will, in order to continue that money flow, they won't speak their mind or show humility towards what they really should, and everything that got them there. They will in fact morph to the narrative that America was bad and is built on genocide, and holidays like this get completely lost, and it changes from honoring the fallen and being grateful for everything that we have through the blood sacrifice of many before us. into just a 3-day weekend. And so one of a couple of the posts that I saw from you, Tom, was kind of just reminding people like, hey, this isn't just a 3-day weekend. Like, yeah, that is a benefit. Obviously, it is, not having to go to work today is a good thing for a lot of people, and kind of gives them a much needed break. But in all reality, this is a time to honor the fallen, and if you can, support the veterans who are still here, who have fought for our freedoms and who have granted us the ability to have a 3-day weekend and to be able to enjoy times like this. But as far as like that assimilation point goes, part of that is having a humble enough attitude to look back and say that, I didn't build this country. In fact, it's my job to make it a better place. And what Tom is doing right now with supporting veterans, that's a step toward it. And being able to actually articulate that we stand on the shoulders of giants, and these veterans have gone through hell basically in order to overcome the challenges that humanity has faced in general to make the greatest country on God's green earth. So,
amen. I think we just become so far removed from the speed at which the internet moves these days is like, if something happens on Monday, and it could be something amazing or something terrible, it could be catastrophic, by the time Thursday rolls around, nobody gives a shit anymore. So when you're trying to get these people who are used to, my food will be ready in 20 seconds if I put it in the microwave, I can reach the entire world if I just press live on my phone, like these people that have prioritized convenience over everything else in life, getting them to remember what happened last week is a task. So getting people to remember the men and women who fought for our freedom X amount of years ago, it's just it's completely lost on them. And I think that also the mainstream narratives through the media and stuff like that have sort of like brainwashed people into associating supporting the military, supporting our troops, and waving the flag as an exclusively right-wing conservative thing to do. When it's like, supporting the military and supporting the men and women that made our lives here possible is not a right-wing thing to do. It is just the right thing to do. And like anybody with any common sense, these people that are out here, the lefties that are out here, identifying as a fucking spruce tree, or burning a fucking flag, or tearing down a monument, or protesting, like, because they hate America. It's like, it's so lost on them that like, hey, like a whole bunch of people died and sacrificed their life so that you could burn that flag, and that so you could identify as whipped cream, and so that you could tear that monument down, and so that like that's your right to do that. This is the only country in the world where you can stand in the town square and scream at the top of your lungs that you fucking hate this country and burn the flag, and not be killed for it. And they don't even realize that like that's a privilege that's been afforded to them through people who died for their right to do it. So man, and every single day, like when I walk out of my house or I look out my window, I have American flags all over my home. And it's not lost on me that like I came to America with $700 in a wallet that didn't even belong to me. Like my dad gave me my grandfather's wallet with $700 in it and said, Thomas, the American dream is still alive if you're willing to work for it. All you have to do in America is work hard and live up to your potential. And I'm sitting here 10 years removed from that, with the life that I always dreamed of having, and able to take care of my girlfriend and my dogs and my family and my friends. And the opportunity to realize that dream only exists because the America that we live in now allows for it, and it only allows for it because people fought for it. And these are like the very basic building blocks of of life and how things work. Like there's a lot of countries in the world where you don't have the opportunity to work hard and accomplish your goals and chase your dreams. It doesn't matter how hard you work. You're going to make 7 cents an hour and you're going to go back home to a mud hut, and that's life. So yeah, it's like, I mean, I can only imagine like what it feels like for Steve. It's super frustrating to see people that don't realize those things and appreciate those things. And Steve, I don't want to speak for you, but if if I served for this country and I was still here like you are, and I'm looking around at the country around me and the world around me, I would feel pretty rejected.
Absolutely.
It's just
Go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I'm just, yeah, it is really tough, man, because so the America that like I really think it was really awesome after a tragic event was 9/11. Do you remember how everybody was right after 9/11? I mean, you don't give a fuck if you're a white, black, Cool Whip, like you were saying, or whipped cream. Everybody was waving an American flag, right? And like that was like incredibly patriotic. And then, you know, I joined the military, and when I served with, you know, all races and the two genders, you know, and nobody saw any of that stuff. Nobody was like, oh, I'm black or I'm white. We had the American flag on our right patch, and that's all that mattered, you know. So, and then coming home after, you know, being deployed and all that stuff, which is kind of crazy, walking into a Walmart after you've been deployed overseas for so long. You're grateful for shit like that. You know what I mean? Just being overseas and stuff. But I just think there's somewhat of a lost sense of patriotism in this country because we're so divided, and the mainstream media is the culprit behind it. They're dividing, you know, left, right, white, black, all this shit. When if people would just understand that we are the greatest country on this planet, and if we united on one similar front, I mean, yes, we're going to have differences. Obviously, not everybody's the same person, but having the respect of the flag and understanding what it took to make this country great. I think if people really understood how much it took to make this country great, they would have a deeper appreciation, and days like Memorial Day would be taken a little bit more seriously for some people.
Absolutely.
Also here, questioning everything and everyone says, I moved here in 1987, and this is the first year I have realized what Memorial Day is really about. I've always heard it's a day off to party and go wild, celebrating our freedoms. Now I live in Texas, and I have learned it's a day to appreciate and enjoy the freedoms that so many have died for, to reflect on that as the core focus of the celebration today. I appreciate it with such a sadness in my heart today.
Wow.
That's
I think that's totally fine too. Like I think that people going out and enjoying the long weekend and drinking beer and driving their boats around and screaming and yelling and having barbecues and stuff, like that's great. Like that's what the people who died for this country would have wanted. They would have wanted people enjoying it and enjoying their freedom and enjoying their friends and enjoying their family, and I think that's a great thing. I just think that it doesn't have to be like a mutually exclusive thing where that's just what the weekend is about. These things can exist sort of in tandem. Like while you're out, when you have the barbecue with your friends, like, and everybody's partying, and when you take the burgers off the grill, just like take 20 seconds to just be like, hey, you know what's cooler than having a long weekend is knowing why it's a long weekend, and just appreciating that with your friends and your family, and then you can just move on with your day. But like, just give it a second. Just realize why it's happening. You know what I mean? I think that's important. Or it is just, or Memorial Day. If we don't, when I go to these Memorial Day functions, like I'm going to go today, the majority of the people there are older, who were closer to the events that made this our lives here possible. So maybe it hits a little closer to home with them, and they appreciate Memorial Day in a different way than the current generation. But if the current generation doesn't stop for 20 seconds on Memorial Day and say, hey, this is why we're here, this is why this weekend is happening, this is why this life has been afforded to us. If we can't convince the current generation to do that for even 20 seconds now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, Memorial Day is just going to be like spring break. the definition and the reason why will be totally lost, and it'll just be like a party weekend. And I think you can see that now already, right?
Yes.
So, it's important, man. Like, I think parents should be telling their kids, and if you're a, 19, 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid partying with your friends, and why Memorial Day is important, it's important to tell your homies, like, hey, this is why we're all here today. Even if your friends don't think it's cool, even if your friends are just on the party train, and like they're just, even if they're left as can be, it's important to just tell people, create awareness, and continue the tradition and the essence of the holiday.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, I actually really agree with your point about, think about World War II. What was that, 80, 90 years ago, and then Vietnam 60, and then eventually it's going to be where Iraq and Afghanistan, the conflicts there are going to be a distant past. So yes, I do agree that we have to continue that message. And actually, if you guys want to check out my pinned post, I had made a post a couple of days ago where if any of my followers had a fallen member that was KIA, to comment underneath their name, their rank, and the date that they were killed, that I would read their name aloud on Memorial Day. So on my pinned post, if you guys want to check it out, I think there's like 32. I had 32 submissions, and I read every single one of them. So just to
That's
keep
awesome.
that memory alive,
That's awesome.
I think
That's
one of the more difficult parts of convincing the younger generation is, well, there's a lot of truth that has come out, basically saying how our government has become corrupt, and a lot of these wars overseas have been fought for reasons that we don't really understand. They kind of told us, weapons of mass destruction, and there's so much nuance that has to go into the conversation now, where you have to explain. It's like, well, you don't have to love everything about the government in order to love your country and why it's here, and why the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were the two greatest pieces written in human history that we know of, at least, and how we, the people, can honor the fallen without honoring the government and all of their decisions to sacrifice young men and women, for what we see now in some cases as frivolous reasons. Because I know that my grandfather, I'll call him Grandpa Doug, that's what I always used to call him, but he was a Vietnam vet, and he suffered for a really, really long time afterwards, coming back and being treated miserably by the very own people, because it seems like the people kind of treated him like it was his decision to go over there and to further the war. And it's not the fault of the veterans who are doing their best to fight for the Constitution and for our freedoms. So they're I mean, these conversations do have to be a little bit more nuanced rather just saying, I just don't want people to get confused and like we're bootlicking the government here. This is about the veterans who have sacrificed their own lives and been put in these dangerous situations, regardless of whether or not the politicians up at the top were correct in their decisions in sending them there or not.
Yeah, I really don't think that you have to support war to support the troops. I don't think you have to support, you can be anti-war and as anti-war as it gets and still support the troops. And you can be as anti-government as it gets and still support the troops. At the end of the day, regardless of what the reasons were, oh, we're going over here because of terrorism, or we're going over here to liberate these people, or we're going over here to fight for our freedoms. Regardless of what the announced narrative was, and maybe behind the scenes, like, oh, we're gonna get that fucking oil, or we're gonna secure these natural resources, or we're gonna expand our territory. Like, regardless of what the true motivations are and what the narrative said in the media is, there's people, men and women. I was in the Los Angeles National Cemetery a week ago, and Steve, I was reading their names out loud as well. That's something that my dad, when we went to DC for the inauguration, there was a monument that had all of the, I think it was, actually, you know what? We were in New York, and it was the 9/11 memorial.
Yeah.
And my dad stood there for 20 minutes and read people's names out loud. So I went to the LA National Cemetery a week or two ago, and walked around the cemetery and read those guys' names out loud. And
Yeah.
many of those people's names, they have their birth date and their death date
Correct.
on their tombstones. And I was doing the math, and a lot of these kids are 21 years old, 22 years old, 25
Yeah.
years old. So regardless of why they were told they're going over there and what the actual motivations are, there
Correct.
was kids who loved this country and believed enough in, we're going to go liberate these people, we're going to liberate our own people, we're going to defend our borders, we're going to fight for freedom. They went over there with that in their mind, and they
Yes.
died, and they didn't come home. So regardless of if you believe the government or support the government or believe the mainstream narrative, these are still kids that believed what they were doing for this country was going to benefit us. And just on the basis of that mindset alone, they should be honored. Regardless if they actually went over there for oil, it doesn't fucking matter. They thought they were going over there to protect us and protect the future generations of America. And just based on that alone, you don't have to think too hard about it. Just based on that alone, they should be honored.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the intention behind, like, no one goes to serve in the military to, I don't know. I just want to go make money or something like that, because you don't make shit in the military, by the way.
I'm gonna go secure oil for the government. Like, what,
Exactly.
bro? Nobody does that. Like, what are you talking about?
It's because everybody that signs the dotted line understands that they may lose their life for this country. And that in itself takes bravery to do that. But then to actually get into combat and engage the enemy, or whatever the enemy is, and then lose your life in the process of doing that, that is heroic bravery, like on an exponential level, to be able to consciously think that, like, okay, I know once I put my life on the line when I started the dotted line, and then two, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect my country, even if it takes my own life. And it did. So that's the true bravery and the true message behind what Memorial Day is about.
Dude, it's a difficult like concept to even comprehend. Like, the recruitment came to my high school, and they brought in a tank, and they brought in a bunch of guys in fatigues, and they brought everything in, and they gave us a big speech, and then they had like the guys, the servicemen and women, stood in the courtyard of the school, and anybody who wanted to could walk up and sign up. And I didn't sign up because I couldn't come to terms with that. I couldn't come to terms with, and I was a kid, so it was a little bit different. But I couldn't imagine at that point in my life signing my name on that line and knowing that, well, that might be it for me. And who
Right.
knows, like, the world's constantly in a state of flux. I could be gone next week. So just like you said, the bravery that it takes, the mental fortitude that it takes to
Yeah.
fully understand the gravity of the situation that you're getting into and still moving ahead with it. I mean, that's honorable in itself. And, I'm trying to give back to this country in the best way I can with this fundraiser and with my music, and trying to empower people and provide information through my music. And I'm trying to give back in my own way, because quite
Yeah.
frankly, I didn't have the fucking balls to sign my name on that line, get on a fucking plane, leave my country, and fight for it. So I think that in itself that's enough. Like I said, I don't give a shit about what the natural resources are, or just having the wherewithal to make that decision at such a young age is like,
Yeah.
those guys should be applauded and held up, just based on that moment in their life where they made that decision.
Forever. Yep.
Yeah.
Haptic Stranger here brings up a good point. He says, even if it was for the wrong reasons, it's even more tragic. People those responsible play them. Maybe the people that are responsible for them did play them. Still an honorable life that never will be. And so he completely agrees. It was a little butchered there as far as the grammar goes, but his point came across quite well. Is that, yeah, the people in power who played them, it doesn't minimize the
Correct.
fact that they were able to put their life on the line for what this country is supposed to be, and the only way that we're going to keep it that way is if we fight for it. Some people are going to do that through the military. Some people are going to do it through music and recruiting. I guess maybe not recruiting, but inspiring people to voice their opinion and to actually stand up against a lot of this even social tyranny that we're experiencing now. I know that in Seattle just the other day, there was a Christian prayer event, and there was a counter protest where Antifa and Trantifa came out and decided to be
Wait,
extremely
hold the
violent.
fuck up. Hold on. What the fuck is Trantifa?
I'm glad you called that.
Is that
It's the
real, or are
trans
you making
side
a
of it.
joke?
A little bit of both. I mean, I've heard
Okay,
it said before, and I actually really like it because it's the 120-pound soy boys that that want to be tough, and instead of signing their name on the dotted line for the greater good for something that they actually believe in, they go out to these protests and attack innocent people and believe that that's what they're fighting for. And I don't think that that's I don't think that that's the kind of freedom that we're trying to inspire in any way. Like we're trying to inspire people that despite that kind of social tyranny, doing the right thing is necessary in order to keep this country great. As Donald Trump would say, making this country great again. And I mean, that's what we're trying to do here. But being in Washington State, it is so difficult to just look out and see. I mean, you're in California, Tom. It's not right. Like it's not much better down there.
Well,
I mean,
I moved out into the middle of fucking nowhere so I could stay away from all that shit. But you know what, man? This past year when the election was coming up. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to make a quick point. When the election was coming up, I was outside a lot. I was going to all the rallies and the parades, and I was supporting. And even outside of those parades and those rallies and stuff, when I was in the mall, when I was out shopping in the streets, when I was in the grocery store, I didn't fucking meet anybody in California. I'm not exaggerating. I didn't meet a single person in California who was not voting for Trump. So it's like, I know this is a notoriously deep blue state, but like in the downtown core of Los Angeles, there's like 10 million people. So I think the ultra blueness is really secluded and reserved for the really high population centers, because everybody outside of that, they're not fucking with it. They don't fuck with Gavin Newsom. They didn't fuck with Kamala. They didn't fuck with Biden. Like everybody was flying Trump flags. So like I have some friends that took 100-foot Trump flag and hung it over the side of a fucking mountain. And it went viral on Instagram. And all of these lefties said they were going to come tear it down. So they went and sat up on top of the hill with rifles. And they were like, come take the fucking flag down. Let's go. And as notoriously blue as California is, I think like 5 people showed up. So
interesting.
So it's just like a bizarre thing where like I don't know if it's really as blue as they say it is.
No, that's kind of like nationwide though, man. All these metro areas are blue, and everything else is, I mean, you can see the electoral map. I think they like color code it, and you can see where the major cities are because you see blue, right? Yeah. But then the rest of the country is red. And it's just like, yeah, man, I don't know. I know it just takes a long time to count votes in California. I'm just going to leave that there.
A really long time, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I think I think a lot that's missing. So you were saying earlier about the internet and how everything is like gone in a split second. Like, I mean, Joe Biden, when they said he had cancer last week and nobody's even talking about it anymore. But anyways, I think the internet is probably like the worst thing to ever happen, because like back then, patriotism was extremely high, closer to like Vietnam. Well, not really Vietnam. They really hated the troops back then, but overall the patriotism was a lot higher. But then now it's like, there's so much more information out there, and people, it's almost like people are so inundated with like material and news cycles and all this other shit, and the mainstream media trying to distract and divide everybody. It's like people are losing what's really important about, you know, American pride. And I don't know, I feel like I'm Toby Keith myself, because like you know, like that level of patriotism. But anyways, I don't know, I'm just trying to create as much unity in this country and as much patriotism, and that's I mean, it's not a right-wing thing, it's an American thing. And if you don't wave that American flag, you're a fucking communist. So I'll just let it be that.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom, I can really relate to what you were talking about as far as the perception of the entire state being blue. Like, so my truck that I drive around, this is my daily driver, right? My wife has her own rig, but I have I have a pretty fancy truck here. It's an 87 Toyota. It's basically a 1-ton Chevy in an 87 Toyota body. But
Nice.
but I mean, this is about as patriotic as it can get, and everybody loves it. I haven't caught any flack from anybody around this area. Now, granted, I haven't driven it up through Seattle yet. I probably will do that at some point, but I'm gonna need backup. All right.
Get a clear coat or something on that thing because it might come out fucking scratched as hell, dude.
Just arm yourself with dildos and throw them at Pantifa. There you go.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But so I live in the foothills of Mount Rainier, right? So I live out in the middle of the woods, and nice. Everybody around here is just completely normal. And I mean, there's American flags everywhere. Some of them I know vote blue. I've met a couple of them. Like there was this almost commune. There were like 13 cars and basically a little farm, but they had like Bernie signs and stuff out there. And I'm like, you know what? At least they're doing something for themselves.
It was a cult.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, this was years ago. They took all those signs down now. But like, I would actually support somebody like that as opposed to the people in the city who are completely reliant on everything that this country provides for them. Going out there and then like fighting the police randomly and saying that like they're fighting for freedom. And it's like, no, it's like you're in an insanely controlled environment where you're kind of doing these battles with police where the rules for them is like insanely strict. You know, I mean, Trantifa hires lawyers and everything to make sure like they're on standby, like just watching the police to make one screw up, and then Seattle will just pay them out a ton of money. It's a very stupid game, but for the most part, Washington State itself is red. I mean, it's filled with red-blooded Americans that love this country just as much as I do, or at least close to it.
And it's like Steve said too, man. And it's really like, about unity and stuff. And even if fucking Washington or California was as deep blue as they claimed it to be, there's no fucking reason why we all can't just coexist and get along. I think part of what the internet does is just like amplify the absolute worst of both side of the political aisle, which is just like a fucking tactic to divide people. Because I mean, I went and got a tattoo like 3 weeks ago, and I got 2 tattoos from the same guy. So he did the first tattoo in my ear, or he did it under my chin. And then he said, "Oh, I want to go out and have a cigarette before we start the new one." And I said, "Yeah, fair enough. I'll come out with you and hang out." And we were getting along totally fine while he was doing the tattoo and stuff. And then we were standing outside and he's smoking, and he had made some sort of like offhand comment about Trump. And I was like, "Oh, you don't like, you're not a Trump guy. You don't like Trump." And he's like, "Nah, he's a fucking idiot. Like blah, 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 blah." And I was like, "Well, just so you know, I'm like a super fucking conservative guy. I'm really fucking outspoken."
Huge.
And huge. And I support Trump. So like, and I didn't have to say that, but like, I also can't continue this conversation co-signing like what he's saying, or nodding my head and smiling and just allowing this his narrative to be like nurtured through me. Like, I'm not gonna fucking do that. So like, I just said straight up, just so you know, this is who the fuck I am, and this is like this is how I see the world. And he was like, "Cool. Like, he kind of shifted his stance. He's like, "Well, I'm kind of more middle than I am left." But this guy was like, this guy was like this guy was like yeah, he was like a raging liberal though. But it didn't stop. Like, I still let the guy take a fucking machine with a fucking needle in it and stab me 1,000 times underneath my fucking chin. He didn't try to fucking kill me. And we got along and we laughed and had a good time and shook hands. And I was on my way with 2 new tattoos from a fucking raging liberal, who I have very little in common with, aside from the fact that we both love America, but we just want to see America be made great again through different means. And, you know, not all liberals are as fucking crazy as the media makes them out to be. They're wrong, but they're not fucking crazy.
Right.
And you know, it goes the same for folks on the right side of the spectrum, conservative folks. So, you know, whether California is as legitimately blue or Washington is as legitimately blue as they say it is, it shouldn't really fucking matter at the end of the day, especially on days like Memorial Day. You shouldn't have to be a conservative to wave a flag. If liberals truly do love this country just as much as they claim they do, there should be no shame in flying that flag for them either. And we should all be able to fucking get along, man.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, dude.
I think you brought up a really good point with that story in how from what I've seen from the left, it's a big, like, the way they communicate with each other, because I have some lefty family, and when I hear them discuss politics, there's a lot of, like, well, for one, they walk around on eggshells around each other and they try not to, like, cross that narrative line, but there's a lot of, like, reinforcement for a false narrative. And just, like, people have a really hard time doing what you just did, which is just saying the truth or stating, like, when somebody else will bring up an opinion like that, just not being confrontational, just saying, "Hey, just so you know, like, I'm actually a big Trump supporter." So, you know, it is what it is. You know, nothing changed from me being out here to when you were tattooing me inside, but just being able to kind of bring that around and change the echo chamber like mentality from the left, because they do stay in their own bubble and they get a lot of their news from the media themselves, right? As opposed to, like, just deep diving into research on you know, anything that they're told. It's just, and then the way that they go around and speak to each other a lot of the times is just like reinforcing the media narrative. So just that, I think what you did there was planting a seed. That's great.
Right. Yeah. And I think that goes to Steve's point, where, Steve, you said that you brought up the internet and how that may have affected patriotism over the years.
Yeah.
And, like, if you look, we're all in our own echo chambers now and again, or here and there. At some point, we're all in our own echo chambers, but it seems to be a theme that is really dominant on the left side of the spectrum. And, like, if you go into the comment section, I think it's because people don't think for themselves anymore. They think about, like, what will my friends agree with, and what will protect me from scrutiny and being crucified by the internet. What are other popular people that are more informed than me? What are they saying? And then they just echo what they're saying. I think people go to the comment sections on YouTube and go to the comment sections on Instagram and go to the comment sections wherever. And I don't think any one of them has had a fucking original thought. They read 30 of the comments that are already there, and then they go, haha, that's clever. I agree with that. And then they fucking put it in the comment section. And it's like, is that really how you feel? Or is that just, like, something somebody else said and you were like, oh, yeah, okay, well, that's good enough for me. That's what I'm going to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that, man. So, like, my ex, I guess, is probably my largest account, and I get blocked by liberals and conservatives because I don't know, maybe, you know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't bother me one way or a bit. I'm just going to keep doing me, you know, but I mean, it is what it is. Like, a lot of people are trying to, whether it's the right or the left, it is kind of like a redundancy echo chamber. Like you're saying, nobody's original. They don't have any original thought anymore. And I just think it's the mainstream media that's pushed a lot of this to get people like tribalism, you know, like, just because I support Trump doesn't mean I agree with everything he does or says, you know, and
I think that is fucking the most important part. Like, dude, I've never seen a president in my life that has the amount of fandom behind him that Donald Trump has. Like, he doesn't just have supporters; he has true blue, legitimate fans. And you know, like, I like Trump as much as the next guy. I think he's doing a great job so far. I filled up my fucking truck 6 months ago. It was $130 to fill it up. 2 weeks ago, I filled it up and it was $90. So, like, I like the guy, but
It's still bad here, man.
we can't
Not
be
Trump's fault,
but we can't be so blinded by our fandom that we can't call these people that are in charge on their
Correct.
own shit, right? Like, it's like, okay, you can like the guy and you can support him, but you can't be so blinded by fandom that you can't just call him out and say, hey, I don't agree with like what you're doing here. And that's something that I feel like exclusively exists on the right side of the spectrum. I feel like the left, it doesn't matter if Kamala's like, yeah, we're gonna replace the water in all watering fountains countrywide with cat piss. Like, liberals are like, fuck yeah, like, let's fucking go.
I love cat piss.
Yeah, we love cat piss. Let's go. So
Yeah, exactly.
Tom, you know about the inner monologue problem, right?
is this a problem that exists exclusively with me?
No. It's so 30 to 50% of Americans do not have an inner monologue. So they don't have they don't speak to themselves in their head. So when they read the news, they're literally absorbing the news. Like, you wonder, being a person with an inner monologue, you can read the news and have commentary going on in your head, like, well, that was bullshit. And as you're reading, right? Well, there's a lot of people that don't have that inner monologue. So what they do is they literally just absorb the news. And that's how that's how it is. It just goes in their head.
And if I didn't know that, and that's fucking wild. And if you know that as a civilian that has, you know, you're doing your thing on the internet, but you have no real connection to politics or political science or any of that shit. So it's like, if you know that as a regular person, the people that are producing these news shows, they've been studying this shit for forever. They know whatever the fuck we say is going to be digested and regurgitated. So it doesn't matter if it's true or not. Just fucking say it. They'll repeat it, and all of a sudden our lies become the mainstream narrative, and the sheep will fucking promote the propaganda for us.
Oh yeah, it's called mass
That's why
formation
it's-
psychosis. So you continuously lie over and over again enough until people believe it's the truth, and that's a huge problem right now.
Yeah, it's like situational design. Just like, give the fucking minions the misinformation and allow them to fucking spread it for us, right?
Yep.
And that's why it is so difficult to combat a lot of this stuff, is because, like, I'll have conversations going on X, you know, with liberals or lefties and things like that, and I can literally see the way that their rhetoric is written down, how it's just a regurgitation of headlines or you know, narratives that have been given to them, and I've tried to figure out how to kind of break through that, and it's virtually impossible on X. You know, like, just having a comment battle back and forth with someone, it's like it is so very difficult. But there is some upside to it, is that when other people will read through it, they can kind of clearly see how to navigate situations like that. But I would say probably the best way to do it is like what Tom is doing, and basically creating an art form in order to convey a particular message, and having, you know, not having this narrative pushed through the art is, and, you know, you still being like catchy, is probably the best way to combat something like this, because I can go on here and debunk the news, but it only reaches a certain amount of people, right?
Sure.
But if there's a song like yours that is catchy and it spreads like wildfire throughout the country, there's going to be people who are more willing to listen to that and I guess absorb that kind of information into their daily lives and embodying those kind of values than it would be me just coming on a podcast and debunking what the news had said.
I saw a Reddit thread the other day that had like thousands of comments on it. It was sent to me by a friend. And this is just to your point. Like, there was a young woman who had detransitioned because of my music. And she is perhaps my greatest accomplishment. But she is like a woke liberal leftist. And I think part of how we can have these conversations with the other side of the spectrum, because the right is guilty of it too, regurgitating headlines that are right-wing headlines and regurgitating talking points. And I think the second that you try to talk to like a liberal or a left person or a woke person, the second you try to talk to them, if you identify yourself as a Republican, you're fucked. Because as crazy as we think they are, they think the exact same thing about us. And we carry on the same false narratives that come from our side of the spectrum and put those on the internet. And they're doing the same thing. So everybody's just equally as fucked up and wrong. So I think like what I do a lot of the time when I talk to people, I don't identify myself as a Republican, because I'm not. I feel like I'm a free thinking person with conservative values. And that's my jump off point. I'm open to whatever it is you guys want to talk about, whatever narrative, whatever perspective, whatever point of view you're coming from. I'm open to it because I'm a free thinking person. I have conservative values, and those mean something to me. And those, to some degree, have influenced the way I think and feel and live my life. But I'm a free thinker. I'm just as capable of looking at right-wing news and saying that's bullshit as I am looking at left-wing news and saying that's bullshit. So
I think you really.
I think that's a big part of it, like through the music. I think that's why the music can reach people and have influence like it had on this young woman who detransitioned, because I'm not saying I'm a fucking Republican rapper and this is a Republican rap song. I'm just saying like, hey, this is the way that I see the world. And if you can just take the fucking title off it for a minute, people are more willing to give what you're saying a chance.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, man. And you really illustrate that in your music as well. Like Me Versus You. Like, I think that kind of encapsulates what this conversation right now is about. Like, they put you on the left, they put you on the right. I hate you. Like, once you step outside of that matrix and you understand, like, we have a lot more in common with the other side than it's the people that are the loudest that create the most divide and most perspective, like, or not perspective, but the ones that are usually the loudest, the extremists. They're the ones that are trying to control that separation narrative. And if people just stop fucking listening to those assholes, dude, the country could be so much better.
It's so fucking basic. I don't know how anybody can look at the division in America, division by color, black and white, division by political, left and right, division by religion, Christian and atheist. I don't know how anybody can look at that division and not immediately come to the conclusion like, okay, who told me that because I'm a Christian that I'm not allowed to like the atheists? Who told me because I'm conservative I'm not allowed to like the liberals? Who told me that because I'm right I'm not? Who is giving? Where am I getting these directions from? Okay, they're coming from above. So who's above? That's the fucking government. Okay, so why are they dividing people by race, religion, color, and all this shit? Why is that happening? Because it's much easier to control a people divided. If you can get everybody in these different groups and these different sects, it's like we no longer have to, as the government, we no longer have to fucking control anyone because they're so fucking busy fighting with one another that nobody ever turns and looks and says, oh fuck, guys, it's them. Because they're too busy pointing at fucking each other to ever realize that there's a puppeteer here pulling the fucking strings. And that's the government or the deep state or whatever the fuck you want to call it. That exists, and that's what's happening here. And I don't know anybody who can for 1 second think that I'm a free thinker. I'm capable of being analytical of the information I'm given. I don't know how any of those people can say that for 1 second and not sit back and just be like, what? So why are we divided? Who divided us? And what would be the reason for that division? It's for control. It's so that we can be controlled. Because if we're constantly in chaos fighting with one another, then that allows the government to swoop in and say, hey, you guys are in chaos fighting with one another and we're here to help. And that's a fucking problem.
It's a distract and divide. So the distraction part is the infighting between the two parties or sides or whatever. That way they can do more corrupt shit behind our backs in DC and we don't know about it. Go ahead, Mo. Sorry.
You're too busy fighting with the fucking guy with purple hair and 17 genders to ever realize that these guys that are running the show are fucking everyone.
Yep.
I mean, this has been a theme of kind of our podcast lately, as we've been trying to break away from the daily politics, I guess the daily news in a sort of way. But like, if you go back and you listen to a Ronald Reagan speech, he is discussing abortion, closing the border, and getting the budget under control. And I was like, that was almost 50 years ago. But our debt has gone up from, back then it was at, maybe $300 million. And now it's all the way up to 36, almost $37 trillion. I mean, the difference is astronomical, but they're still selling us the same exact talking points, and they do it through fear. Like, I will say that, like, abortion is a serious talking point. There's been 70 million Americans that are no longer with us through voluntary sacrifice to make their lives more convenient. And it's been sold as, a right for women. But at the same time, it is one of those points where Congress has never made an actual decision to either end it or, it's just one of those talking points that every 4 years or every 2 years, depending on what election you're talking about, they're selling us the same talking points that it's a fight back and forth between the people while they enrich themselves behind the scenes doing, through like something like US aid, where they've just been saying that they've been helping out people around the world, and it's just a big money laundering scheme. So I've been trying to figure out how to convey that to people. Like, okay, you got to understand, like, yeah, these talking points are important. It would be good for us to figure out that, hey, if we were created and endowed with inalienable rights by our creator, it would make sense that happened at creation. But at the same time, we also need to point the finger at the ones up top who have been selling us these talking points and not doing a damn thing about it, and also enriching themselves.
But you know what, man? I feel like, and this is a really recent example as well. I think part of the reason, and I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on for a minute, but I feel like, grab your cowboy hat, brother. I feel like part of the reason why, get it, dude. I feel like part of the reason.
Hat.
Yeah, let's go. I feel like part of the reason why let's fucking go. Conspiracy talk, I'm in. I feel like part of the reason why these talking points, like you said, bringing the debt down and like and abortion and all the, I feel like those talking points continually to get sold to us because it is something that people legitimately believe in and feel strongly about. And I think that the people that are selling those talking points, I don't think it's all bullshit all the time. I think they legitimately believe that they want to address these issues. But I don't think that they're always allowed to. I think that there's a higher power above the people in Congress, above the people in the government. And I think that, listen, I think Kash Patel's fucking great. I love Dan Bongino. I think they're both awesome. They both said they were going to crack open those Epstein files and they were going to get to the bottom of the shit. And then a week ago, they came back and they both said, "Oh, he killed himself." Like, that's what we found. He killed himself. And I don't fucking believe that. And
Neither.
And you guys don't believe that. And there's millions of other people who don't fucking believe that. But I think, just like Reagan addressing the debt and abortion and stuff, these guys went in to address the Epstein thing and found out very quickly, you're not allowed to address that because there's other people that hold the keys to those fucking doors. And unless you want to end up like Epstein, you're not going to say a fucking word about it. So get on your Instagram and tell everybody he killed himself and shut the fuck up. And that's how I think that this shit actually goes.
I agree.
So I don't think those talking points is just like some bullshit that they're just saying to people. I think these guys legitimately go in with a mission objective and they legitimately want to solve those problems. And then they realize that, oh, fuck, I just stepped on the other side of the red tape and I'm in fucking danger. And I'm not allowed to address these things. So I'm going to go back and feed these people some bullshit. That's how I
that file that they get handed the file that says that, yeah, our reptilian overlords are here. And they actually, you're not allowed to talk about this stuff.
Yeah. Here's the file. Be ready for the fucking Russian space laser to light your fucking house up if you crack it open, though. Like,
And we're
Oh,
putting
man.
stuff in the water to make the frogs gay and everything. Yeah, dude.
yeah.
Okay,
So
what you're
I feel like there's some things, doesn't matter how powerful you are. Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Donald Trump, Ronald Reagan, Joe Biden, whoever the fuck, it doesn't matter. I think there's things that are off limits. Off limits. And maybe this ties into Memorial Day. Like, Steve, when you and your friends signed your name on that line and you were willing to risk it all to go over and fight for this country and defend our freedoms and our justice and our liberty, these guys that want to do these things, like crack open the Epstein file and stuff like that, they're essentially signing their name on that line, and they're accepting that might be the end of me too. And a lot of people aren't you, man. They're not willing to sign their name on that line, so they have to come back and say, "Oh, yeah, he killed himself." But they know.
That did look like
They
a
know.
hostage video, man. Like,
Yeah,
if
so-
you look at all the
Dude.
podcasts of Dan Bongino beforehand, and he's like, "This is bullshit." The camera shut off. The guards
Yeah,
fell
and I
asleep.
love Dan. I love Bongino.
But he looked
Yeah.
fucking angry at himself when he was talking.
He killed himself. He
Yeah.
leaned in, closed his eyes, lowered his head. He's like, he killed himself. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is the least convincing Dan
Exactly.
Bongino argument I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
But you can argue
I've
that's
seen
a
this guy
message.
talk a billion people into a corner.
And steamroll the most difficult, complex, nuanced arguments ever. I've seen him own the stage a billion times. And in that moment, I was like, this is the first time I've ever seen Dan Bongino look defeated.
I honestly, like, I think people were taking that as the wrong message. Like, they were going after Dan instead of like the intention or why he was stating it or how he stated it. I think it's a lot more elaborate, and I think you're spot on, Tom. Where it's like he was almost forced to say this because he walked, like you were saying, like he opened the door into what was called the deep state, and he probably realizes, oh, I'm in deep shit.
Yeah.
Because of, like, all these names you hear about Barack Obama and all these people, there's people pulling them. There are puppets behind the scenes that you don't even know who their names are. That's how deep enthralled all this stuff is with the money and, the child trafficking and all that stuff. In my opinion, I think the reason why everything seems so lackluster right now is because it's probably so intertwined internationally, not just the United States, that it's going to be very hard to bring something like that down.
100%, bro. And like, I don't know, like, the whole thing, like, even just beyond that, like, I think it's very difficult to get any legitimate information out of any of them because they've covered their tracks so fucking well. Like, when they released the JFK files and everybody was like, oh, we're finally going to find out that it wasn't fucking Lee Harvey Oswald. It was fucking multiple shooters. It was the CIA. It was this, it was that. It's like, okay. So the files that you're looking at to get this actual recount of events, the real information, the files that you're looking at are files that were created by the FBI. And that's where you're going to search for the truth. As if like when
We did it. It wasn't actually him.
yeah, like the first thing they did after the assassination was like, hey, somebody make sure we document this, that we did it, and then put it in a file somewhere because that's the smart thing. Like, bro, what? Like, the first thing that these guys fucking did was say, if anybody writes any of this fucking down, you're going to be the next guy that gets shot in the head.
Right.
And now
Well,
we
it's
got
like-
guys sifting through fucking paperwork created by the people that committed the crime, being like, look, it doesn't say anything. It was Lee Harvey Oswald. It's like, bro, what? If I rob a bank, I don't go home and fucking get on my typewriter and be like, today I robbed a fucking bank. And
You're right.
and fold up the piece of paper and stick it in a fucking file folder somewhere so somebody can come along 20 years later and be like, here's the proof.
Here's all of my crimes right there. But no, that's like MK Ultra, right? We weren't supposed to know. The American people were never supposed to figure out about MK Ultra. If you guys don't know, MK Ultra was a letter agency program where they would give people psychedelics and then they would try to mind control them. The American people were never supposed to know about this. A lot of the files were destroyed, but not all of them. Some of the documentations, the studies that they did were found in an abandoned warehouse, and they're like, wait, what's this? And they're like, oh shit, this is actually real. And so, I mean, if you think that they just completely abandoned that program and aren't doing it anymore, well, I gotta,
There's
it's just one of those
fluoride
things where
in the water and bullshit
On the television, bro. The
Yeah,
MK
still going
Ultra
on.
is happening right now at a larger scale than it's ever happened before.
Mm-hmm. And I think a
SSRIs,
lot of
This
man.
has turned into a fucking new. This is a new episode of the conspiracy.
I know, dude. I'm like, oh, we're supposed to be honoring the fallen troops, man. We're
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
on a tip
Okay.
hat and shit.
And speaking of, guys,
I gotta get, it's fucking noon here. I gotta get down to these Memorial Day festivities and check stuff out. So, but this was fucking awesome. Total fucking pleasure. And please have me back soon so I can scream and yell about conspiracies with you because I'm fucking into it. And I'm just gonna totally take advantage of you guys right now and say one last time, the fundraiser for veterans ends tonight at midnight. If you want one of the shirts for charity, every penny goes to veterans and their families. And there's also, you know, a bunch of other stuff. There's autographed flags and autographed 8x10 photos. But the most important thing is, like, don't worry about supporting me. Seriously, don't worry about it. Don't worry about getting Hangover Gang merch. Don't worry about getting autographed this or that or any of that bullshit. Don't worry about supporting me. Support the men and women who made this fucking great country possible, who made this long weekend possible, and who made our way of life here possible. So hangovergang.com. The fundraiser ends at midnight. So, and I really appreciate both of you guys for letting me come on here and scream and yell about the sale, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey guys, on my
God
live
bless, Tom.
stream in the comments website, go click it. First comment.
Cool. Thank you.
There you go, Tom. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Guys, please go to his page, hangovergang.com. Support the troops. That's the best way to do it. Tom, you have a good day at your festivals, and God bless you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for coming on.
Much love. Keep me posted on
The next episode of the Conspiracy Podcast, I'll be here. All right.
Sweet.
All right, man.
We'll
That
do
sounds
All right,
great.
guys.
Have a good rest of your weekend.
Thanks. Later,
Peace.
dude.
Oh, it's the wrong one. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
Man, that was fun.
Hey, man, you guys. Tom's awesome, man. I think I got a good conspiracy theory that I could bring him in and get him kind of wrapped up in. So that'd be a lot of fun.
Mhm. Yeah, we'll bring him on as a regular. We'll see when he has a Friday free, and we'll bring him on, and we'll be like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 with 3 retards on the screen.
Yeah,
No, I love Tom.
yeah. Pyramids, free energy, Tesla. You know, we could go into all that stuff. We can go into Tartaria. That's a fun rabbit hole to go down.
Which
the
one?
whole Tartarian Empire. Tartaria.
Oh, okay.
Do you know about
Yeah,
Tartaria? The ancient civilization. Well, maybe not ancient, but it was the old world civilization that built all the fancy buildings and you know, basically our human civilization started 300 years ago. That's when population actually began, and we founded all of these buildings, and the ones in control own the banks and all the state capitals and stuff, and basically our history was written by AI and
Oh my god,
you know,
This would be
just
insane.
shit like that. Yeah, I mean, I could keep going down that rabbit
Yeah, I
hole,
know.
but yes.
Oh man, yeah, we'll have to do a Bob Ross one too. I know we talked about it pre-show, and he's like, "Oh, I won't go too ham on Bob Ross because I love him." But yeah, I've heard some things about that, and we can kind of divulge into it. I think it'd be fun. But I think it's time to get out of here, man. I'm gonna go drink some beer.
It is.
And
thank you guys
celebrate.
for joining in. Please share the podcast if you can. If you want to see Tom MacDonald on again, please share the podcast with as much people as you can. Let him know that he's become a friend of the show and a friend of Steve and I, and he's one of the true patriots that I really believe, like one of the true genuine artists out there, down to earth, and he's
like a bro.
Cool. So
you know, he has money, he has nice things and like badass cars and shit like that, but he hasn't lost who he was, and I think that's what attracts a huge audience for him, his genuineness.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So ready to get out of here, brother?
Yep, ready. All right, you guys, we'll see you. Take care.
Peace.
God bless you all. God bless America. God bless our fallen troops, and thank you to all who support and the veterans of today. We really stand on the shoulders of giants, and I'm eternally grateful for all that I have received, and for you guys in the comments. Just lighten up the comment section. I love it, and hopefully that moving forward, we embody the values we wish to see in this world, and part of that is fighting for this country, whatever way you can, whether it be through your job or through prayer or through, political online talk. Just put your heart and soul into it, and remember that all of our freedoms today were granted by the blood of patriots of the past. So don't forget that. God bless you guys. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Dusty plains and broken dreams, cowboys and Indians on the same team. We got no masters, only our creed to break the chains and set us free. Riders on the prairie, wild and free, bows and arrows, cold 45's decree. No more tyranny, no more lies, under open skies we rise. Fight, fight, fight till we reclaim the night. Cowboys and Indians in the blazing light. Fight, fight, fight till the dawn is near. We'll never live in fear. On the blood moon, we all unite. Horses thunder in the night. No longer slaves to the empire's might. Strength in numbers, strength in rise. When the blood moon we unite. Horses thunder in the night.